जी बिल्कुल, रिकॉर्डिंग अवेलेबल होगी। ओके, बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। रब्बि इश्रह लि सदरी व यस्सिर लि अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली रब्बी ज़िदनी इल्मा। Let's start with the today's session. This is me, Mohammed Junaid Khalid, and I am the course facilitator for F7 फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग पेपर। जी हाँ, लेट्स स्टार्ट विद टुडेज सेशन। और आज के सेशन का मैं एजेंडा पहले तो शेयर कर दूं। यस, यू आर नर्वस, टेंस हैं, आप बहुत परेशान हैं, बहुत ज्यादा कंसर्न है कि सर एक कुछ ही दिनों के बाद इंशाल्लाह आफ्टर फ्यू डेज आपका पेपर है फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग का। किस तरीके से प्रिपरेशन करें, व्हाट टू डू व्हाट नॉट टू डू, क्या करना चाहिए क्या नहीं करना चाहिए। इंशाल्लाह एट द एंड ऑफ द सेशन में एक आपको जनरल गाइडलाइंस भी दूंगा। स्टे ट्यून टिल द लास्ट। और सेकेंडली ये कि मैं आज के एजेंडा शेयर कर दूं कि आज के इस सेशन के अंदर हम क्या करने जा रहे हैं। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, हमें पता है कि फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग के अंदर तीन सेक्शंस पे पेपर होगा, सेक्शन ए, बी एंड सी। मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम स्टूडेंट्स बहुत ही ज्यादा आपके पास जो है वो एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी चल रहे होते हैं, यानी कि दो एक्सट्रीम्स पर होते हैं। बहुत सारे वो स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं जो कि सिर्फ और सिर्फ सेक्शन ए और बी की प्रिपरेशन कर रहे होते हैं। बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट ऐसे होते हैं जो सिर्फ और सिर्फ सेक्शन सी की प्रिपरेशन कर रहे होते हैं, उस पर फोकस कर रहे होते हैं। क्योंकि अगर हम देखें तो पेपर बहुत इक्वली डिवाइडेड है। सेक्शन ए एंड बी कंप्राइजेस ऑफ 60 मार्क्स, सेक्शन सी कंप्राइजेस ऑफ 40 मार्क्स। बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स का व्यू पॉइंट ये होता है कि यार ए और बी की प्रिपरेशन कर लो, 60 मार्क्स स्ट्रांग हो जाएंगे, सी को ऊपर से देख लेंगे या सी को बिल्कुल एवरेज बेसिस के ऊपर प्रिपेयर कर लेंगे। इट्स अ डेंजरस साइन। बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट ऐसे होते हैं कि यार सेक्शन सी प्रिपेयर कर लो, 40% पेपर का कंप्राइज कर रहा है, ए और बी में थोड़ी जान मार देना 50 आ जाएंगे। अगेन इट्स अ डेंजरस साइन। याद रहे आपका पूरे सेक्शंस के ऊपर, सारे सेक्शंस के ऊपर इक्वली फोकस होना चाहिए। मैं स्टूडेंट्स, जितनी मेरे स्टूडेंट्स इस वक्त जो मेरे साथ पढ़ रहे हैं दिसंबर अटेम्प्ट के लिए या जो सितंबर में थे, उनको मेरा एक ही मैसेज था कि आपने तीनों को इक्वली लेके चलना है। इवन बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स को मैंने गाइडलाइंस दी, वॉइस नोट्स भी शेयर किए किस तरीके से आप प्लान कर सकते हैं जिसमें आप ए बी एंड सी तीनों की प्रिपरेशन को आप पैरेलल लेके चलें। तो पूरी स्ट्रैटेजी हमने जो है वो डिस्कस की है। तो उसको बिल्कुल जो है हम बिल्कुल इसको हमने जो है वो डिस्कस किया हुआ है, उसको हमने सारी चीजों को वहां पर देखा हुआ, डिस्कस किया हुआ है। इन द मीन वाइल अगर कोई ऐसा स्टूडेंट है जिसने नहीं पढ़ा हुआ और स्टिल जो है वो मुझसे अगर कोई कंसर्न शेयर करना चाहता है और मुझसे कोई चीज डिस्कस करना चाहता है, यू आर मोस्ट वेलकम टू डू सो। बिल्कुल आप कर सकते हैं। मैं इंशाल्लाह आपको एक गाइडलाइन, एक स्ट्रैटेजी वहां पे फॉर्मुलेट करके दे दूंगा। खैर, आज के सेशन के अंदर हमारा खैर मेजर फोकस होगा वो सेक्शन सी के एरिया के ऊपर होगा। और सेक्शन सी के अंदर एक एरिया है, दैट इज अ कंसोलिडेशन। हम पास्ट पेपर का एक क्वेश्चन करने जा रहे हैं जो कि बिल्कुल रिसेंट लास्ट अटेम्प्ट का पास्ट पेपर का क्वेश्चन है, आपके एसीसी के प्रैक्टिस प्लेटफॉर्म पर भी अवेलेबल है। वहां पर भी आप इसको सॉल्व कर सकते हैं। बट आज मैं इस क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व करने का एक रीजन तो ये कि हम कंसोलिडेटेड पीएनएल की प्रैक्टिस करें। दूसरा इससे ज्यादा जो इंपॉर्टेंट रीजन है वो ये कि एज वी ऑल नो दैट IFRS 18 जो कि रिप्लेस कर रहा है IAS 1 को, वी ऑल नो दैट कि फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग के पेपर के अंदर अब वो एप्लीकेबल है, टेस्ट होगा। एसीसी का एग्जामिनर अब IFRS 18 को टेस्ट करने जा रहा है। जी हाँ, इसका मतलब यह है कि अब एसीसी का एग्जामिनर आपसे IFRS 18 की एप्लीकेशन पूछ सकते हैं। एंड IFRS 18 के अंदर सबसे बड़ा जो मेजर चेंज आया है, बाकी डेफिनेशनल चेंजेस कुछ हैं, कुछ आपके प्रेजेंटेशन की चेंजेस हैं, लेकिन सबसे मेजर जो चेंज आया है वो आया है प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट के अंदर। जी हाँ, इनकम स्टेटमेंट जिसको हम कहते हैं, प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट जिसको हम कहते हैं, सर उसका फॉर्मेट अब चेंज हो चुका है। अब इनकम स्टेटमेंट का फॉर्मेट रीडिफाइन हो चुका है, रीमैप हो चुका है। और वैसे तो इंडस्ट्री के अंदर वो IFRS 18 लेटर ऑन बाद में अप्लाई होगा, लेकिन आपके पेपर्स के अंदर, आपके एग्जाम्स के अंदर अब उसकी एप्लीकेशंस हो चुकी हैं। सो इट मींस कि बहुत ही प्रोबेबल चांस है कि एग्जामिनर उसी स्टैंडर्ड IFRS 18 को टेस्ट करें। तो व्हाई नॉट इसका जो सोल्यूशन आपके एसीसी के प्रैक्टिस प्लेटफॉर्म पे दिया हुआ है, और जो क्वेश्चन इवन जो दिया हुआ है, इसका जो फॉर्मेट दिया हुआ है, ये पुराने फॉर्मेट के ऊपर दिया हुआ है। ऑब्वियसली पुराना आप यानी कि लास्ट अटेम्प्ट का क्वेश्चन है, लेकिन अब जो आपके पास इनकम स्टेटमेंट आएगी, चाहे वो सिंगल एंटिटी जिसको हम फाइनल अकाउंट कहते हैं, चाहे वो कंपनी के अंदर यानी कि कंसोलिडेटेड के अंदर हो, अब आपने जो कंसोलिडेटेड पीएनएल या इवन अगर आप फाइनल अकाउंट भी कर रहे हैं, फाइनल अकाउंट का क्वेश्चन भी कर रहे हैं, तो आप जो इनकम स्टेटमेंट या पीएनएल बनाएंगे, अपडेटेड फॉर्मेट पे हमें प्रिपेयर करनी होगी। सो यू हैव टू लर्न, यू हैव टू प्रैक्टिस फॉर द फॉर्मेट जो कि IFRS 18 के अंदर दिया हुआ है। सो ये हमारे पास क्वेश्चन इस वक्त यहाँ पर मौजूद है। क्वेश्चन आपके सामने है, मैं क्वेश्चन को थोड़ा जूम भी कर देता हूँ। ये क्वेश्चन की आप पिक्चर भी ले सकते हैं, मैं इसको डिफरेंट पार्ट्स में रखता हूँ, उसकी पिक्चर ले लें। नेवरदलेस आपके पास जो ECC का प्रैक्टिस प्लेटफॉर्म है वहां पर ये क्वेश्चन अवेलेबल है। मार्च जून 2025 का ये आपके पास क्वेश्चन है जिसको हम यहाँ पर सॉल्व करने जा रहे हैं। अच्छा, सिर्फ क्वेश्चन सॉल्व नहीं करेंगे, बाय द वे मैं एक चीज और बता दूं कि यहाँ पर मैं इंशाल्लाह कोशिश करूंगा कि कंसोलिडेटेड पीएनएल के अंदर सारे एस्पेक्ट्स को देखूं। अगर कोई एडजस्टमेंट ऐसी है जो कि टेस्ट नहीं भी हुई और हो सकती है, तो वो इंशाल्लाह मैं आपको यहां पर गाइड जरूर करूंगा कि अगर ये एडजस्टमेंट होती है और ये आपके पास यहां पर वर्डिंग होती तो किस तरीके से हम उस एडजस्टमेंट को एंटरटेन करते हैं। तो हम इंशाल्लाह इस अप्रोच के साथ यहां पर चलेंगे। हमारा ऑब्जेक्टिव इस सेशन के अंदर सिर्फ और सिर्फ क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व करना नहीं होगा, बल्कि हम इंशाल्लाह एक ओवरऑल अंडरस्टैंडिंग ले रहे होंगे इस पूरे स्टैंडर्ड की। यहां तक किसी का कोई सवाल, कोई क्वेश्चन हो तो प्लीज डू लेट मी नो। यहां तक अगर किसी का कोई सवाल हो तो प्लीज। Later on we can also conduct a session on in English language as well, but so far there is a lot of audience that is from Pakistan or India, so I'll be conducting that session in English language or Urdu language. जी जनाब, आगे चलें। जी अहमद, इंशाल्लाह इसको हम डिस्कस कर लेंगे, नो प्रॉब्लम। गुड टू हियर यू दिवित। चलिए जनाब, लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द सेशन। स्टार्ट करते हैं जरा। और इस क्वेश्चन को पहले मैं रीड आउट करता हूं और फिर हम देखेंगे कि आईएफआरएस 18 का पीएनएल का फॉर्मेट क्या है, और फिर हम इस क्वेश्चन को पूरा वहां पर उसके अंदर पोर्ट्रे करने की कोशिश करेंगे। एंड ऑब्वियसली आई एम गोना गिव यू द स्ट्रैटेजी कि किस तरीके से हम कंसोलिडेटेड पीएनएल का क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर सकते हैं। ओके नाउ, Shibilatu company acquired 80% of the ordinary shares, $1 share capital of स्मिनर कंपनी ऑन 1 April 2008। एक चीज हमेशा याद रखिएगा, जब भी आप कंसोलिडेटेड पीएनएल का, बैलेंस शीट की बात नहीं कर रहा फिलहाल, कंसोलिडेटेड पीएनएल का जब भी आप क्वेश्चन कर रहे हैं, मेक श्योर करें कि आप क्वेश्चन के अंदर उसकी डेट ऑफ एक्विजिशन लाजमी देखें। रीजन बीइंग, क्योंकि एग्जामिनर जब भी कंसोलिडेटेड पीएनएल का क्वेश्चन देगा, रिमेंबर, ऑलवेज रिमेंबर, वो कभी भी आपको यहां पर फुल ईयर नहीं देगा, वो हमेशा आपको मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द टाइम मिड ईयर एक्विजिशन देगा। क्योंकि यहां पर एग्जामिनर के पास खेलने का एक बहुत ही जबरदस्त प्लेटफॉर्म अवेलेबल है। क्योंकि यहां पर आपके पास जब मीडिया एक्विजिशन होगी, सो वी ऑल नो दैट कि ऑल लाइन आइटम्स ऑफ अ सब्सिडरी कंपनी शुड बी प्रोरेटेड। जितनी भी आपके पास सब्सिडरी कंपनी के लाइन आइटम्स हैं, हम उन सबको प्रोरेट करेंगे पोस्ट एक्विजिशन मंथ्स के ऊपर। रिमेंबर, मैं फिर रिपीट कर रहा हूं कि आपने जब भी ये आपने अपना एक बेंचमार्क बनाना है, ये आपने अपना एक टू डू लिस्ट के अंदर आपने रखना है कि अगर आपके पास क्वेश्चन आ रहा है एंड दैट क्वेश्चन रिलेट्स टू कंसोलिडेटेड पीएनएल, तो आपने डेट ऑफ एक्विजिशन लाजमी कंसीडर करनी है। हियर द डेट ऑफ एक्विजिशन इज ऑन 1 April 2008 एंड इट एंड्स ऑन 31 December 2008। इट मींस कि यहां पर डेट ऑफ एक्विजिशन मिड ईयर एक्विजिशन की है, और मिड ईयर एक्विजिशन का मतलब यह है कि हम सब्सिडरी कंपनी के जितने भी लाइन आइटम्स हैं, तमाम लाइन आइटम्स को हम पोस्ट एक्विजिशन मंथ्स के ऊपर प्रोरेट करेंगे। इट मींस कि मुझे पोस्ट एक्विजिशन मंथ्स कैलकुलेट करने पड़ेंगे। मेरे साथ कैलकुलेट करें। अप्रैल करें करें, अप्रैल, मई, जून, जुलाई, अगस्त, सितंबर, अक्टूबर, नवंबर, दिसंबर। जी हां, यानी कि 9 मंथ्स मेरे पास यहां पर आ रहे हैं पोस्ट एक्विजिशन मंथ्स के। मैं सब्सिडरी कंपनी के जितने भी लाइन आइटम्स होंगे, तमाम लाइन आइटम्स को पोस्ट एक्विजिशन मंथ्स के ऊपर प्रोरेट करूंगा। चलिए जनाब। अच्छा, मैं फिर आपको डिस्क्लेमर दे दूं, ये जो पीएनएल आपके पास एग्जामिनर ने दी हुई है, ये आउटडेटेड फॉर्मेट है। जी हां, ये आउटडेटेड फॉर्मेट है। और इवन जो उसका सॉल्यूशन आपको मिलेगा, वो सॉल्यूशन भी आपको आउटडेटेड फॉर्मेट में मिलेगा, क्योंकि ये पास एग्जाम का क्वेश्चन है। अब जो एग्जाम्स आएंगे उसमें अपडेटेड फॉर्मेट अप्लाई होगा। सो इट्स एन आउटडेटेड, बट हम इसी क्वेश्चन को अपडेटेड फॉर्मेट के अकॉर्डिंगली इंशाल्लाह सॉल्व करेंगे, सो दैट कि आपको पता हो कि आईएफआरएस 18 की इनकम स्टेटमेंट की एप्लीकेशन कैसे होगी। नाउ, रेवेन्यू, कॉस्ट ऑफ सेल्स, ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट, ये सारे लाइन आइटम्स आपके पास गिवन है। अदर कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इनकम आपके पास गिवन है, और अदर कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इनकम के अंदर आपके पास गेन ऑन रिवैल्यूएशन ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी आपके पास यहां पर गिवन है, और इस तरीके से पूरी पीएनएल गिवन है। लेट्स मूव ऑन टुवर्ड्स द एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन, जो कि एडजस्टमेंट्स कहलाती हैं। एडजस्टमेंट्स के अंदर हमारे पास पहली एडजस्टमेंट जो दे रहा है, अच्छा एक बात और सुनिएगा जरा गौर से, गौर सुनिएगा इधर, प्लीज एवरीवन फोकस कीजिएगा, फोकस कीजिएगा जरा। देखिए, जब भी आपके पास कंसोलिडेशन का क्वेश्चन आता है, कंसोलिडेटेड पीएनएल का क्वेश्चन आता है, तो गौर से सुनिएगा जरा, या इवन फाइनल अकाउंट का क्वेश्चन है, बैलेंस शीट का क्वेश्चन है, याद रखिएगा, जब भी आपके सेक्शन सी का कोई भी क्वेश्चन होगा, उस क्वेश्चन के अंदर ऐसा हो नहीं सकता, मेरी स्टेटमेंट सुनिएगा, दो स्टेटमेंट दूंगा, दो स्टेटमेंट दे रहा हूं। पहली स्टेटमेंट, ऐसा हो नहीं सकता कि कोई स्टूडेंट, कोई कैंडिडेट ये कहे कि मुझे कुछ भी नहीं आता। इम्पॉसिबल। आपने किसी भी ट्यूटर से पढ़ा हो, किसी भी रिसोर्सेज को आपने यूज किया हो, कहीं से भी आपका बैकग्राउंड हो, ऐसा कोई स्टूडेंट कह नहीं सकता कि मुझे इस क्वेश्चन में कुछ भी नहीं आता। इम्पॉसिबल। ये स्टेटमेंट पॉसिबल ही नहीं है। दूसरी इंपॉर्टेंट बात, कोई कैंडिडेट ये भी नहीं कह सकता कि मुझे सब कुछ आता है। ये देखिए, दो एक्सट्रीम पॉइंट्स हैं, इन दो एक्सट्रीम पॉइंट्स को समझें। कोई ये नहीं कह सकता कि मुझे कुछ भी नहीं आता, ये एक एक्सट्रीम, ये नेगेटिव एक्सट्रीम है। एक बहुत ही ओवर पॉजिटिव कह रहा है कि मुझे सब कुछ आएगा क्वेश्चन के अंदर, ये भी पॉसिबल नहीं है। देखिए, यहां पर एग्जामिनर हमेशा बैलेंस लेके चलता है। मैं आपको गारंटी देता हूं, आई कैन बेट ऑन दिस वन, कि आप पास एग्जामिनर के क्वेश्चंस कर लें, प्रैक्टिस एग्जाम कर लें, मॉक एग्जाम्स कर लें, स्पेसिमेन कर लें, कोई भी आप रिसोर्स उठा लें, जो भी आपने स्टडीज की हैं, जो भी आपने पढ़ा है, जहां से भी पढ़ा है, किसी भी ट्यूटर से आपने क्लासेस ली हो, मैं आपको गारंटी देके कह सकता हूं कि आप उस क्वेश्चन को 60 to 70% अटेम्प्ट कर सकते हैं। जी हां, 30% में शायद आपको ट्रबल हो रहा हो। मैं प्रैक्टिस के दौरान भी बात कर रहा हूं, बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स प्रैक्टिस करते वक्त बहुत ज्यादा घबरा जाते हैं कि सर मेरा 30% एरिया नहीं हो पा रहा। सर अगर लेट से 6 एडजस्टमेंट्स हैं, 2 एडजस्टमेंट्स, 3 एडजस्टमेंट्स मुझसे नहीं हो पा रही, लेट इट बी, कोई इशू नहीं है इसके अंदर, कोई इशू नहीं है। आप जब प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं और प्रैक्टिस करते वक्त अगर आपसे 2 या 3 एडजस्टमेंट नहीं हो रही, आपने करना क्या, उन 2 या 3 एडजस्टमेंट्स को आपने अंडरस्टैंड करना है, समझना है। आपने अपने पास नोट कर लिया कि ठीक है यार, ये एडजस्टमेंट होगी तो उसको ये ट्रीटमेंट होगी, इसकी ये लॉजिक है। दैट्स इट। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन पे जाएं। अब जब नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन पे जाएंगे, इस जैसी एडजस्टमेंट अगर वापस से रिपीट हो रही है, या इसकी जैसी सिमिलर एडजस्टमेंट रिपीट हो रही है, अब आपने वो मिस्टेक नहीं करनी जो पिछले क्वेश्चन में की थी। अब आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि मुझे एडजस्टमेंट नहीं आता। अब आपका जो आपका लर्निंग कर्व था वो इंप्रूव हो चुका है, आपको एक नई एडजस्टमेंट आ गई। हाँ, उस क्वेश्चन के अंदर अगेन एक या दो एडजस्टमेंट ऐसी होंगी जो आपको नहीं आती होंगी, ठीक है, उसको लर्न करें। इस तरीके से आपने इंप्रूवमेंट करनी है, अपना लर्निंग कर्व इंप्रूव करना है। पेपर में अगेन आप जब जाएंगे, मैं आपको गारंटी देता हूं, एक या दो एडजस्टमेंट ऐसी होंगी जो शायद आपसे ना हो जाए तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, वेल एंड गुड, आउटस्टैंडिंग। लेकिन अगर एक या दो एडजस्टमेंट नहीं आ रही हो तो उसकी वजह से अपना मोरल लूज मत कीजिएगा प्लीज। वो दो एडजस्टमेंट आपको फेल नहीं करा सकती। देखिए, वो दो एडजस्टमेंट की मार्किंग होगी 4 to 6 मार्क्स। स्टूडेंट करता है क्या, उस 6 मार्क्स के लिए अपने 94 मार्क्स को स्पॉइल कर देता है। उस 6 मार्क्स के लिए 40 मार्क्स का अगर सेक्शन सी है, आपने क्वेश्चन स्टार्ट किया सेक्शन सी, आपको लग रहा है कि ये 2 या 3 एडजस्टमेंट यानी 6 मार्क्स। अब वो 6 मार्क्स को इतना पैनिक अपने ऊपर क्रिएट कर देता है, पैनिक अटैक्स लेकर आता है कि वो अपने रिमेनिंग 36 34 मार्क्स को स्पॉइल कर देता है। प्लीज डोंट डू दैट। मैं अभी अभी क्वेश्चन आपके सामने पढ़ूंगा, और मुझे नहीं लगता कि आप में से कोई ऐसा स्टूडेंट जो कहे कि मुझे कोई भी एडजस्टमेंट नहीं आती। आती होंगी, कुछ एडजस्टमेंट ऐसी होंगी शायद आपको डिफिकल्ट लगे, डजेंट मैटर, कोई इशू नहीं है। बेस्ट पार्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन, बेस्ट पार्ट ऑफ द एग्जाम, कि हर आपके पास यहां पर स्टेप्स की मार्किंग इंडिपेंडेंट है। अगर आपने सेल्स रेवेन्यू गलत कैलकुलेट कर लिया लेकिन कॉस्ट ऑफ सेल्स सही है, यू विल गेट द मार्क्स फॉर द कॉस्ट ऑफ सेल्स एंड द रेस्ट ऑफ द पीएनएल। सेल्स के मार्क्स आप खाली लूज करेंगे ना यार, दैट्स इट, क्या इशू है इसके अंदर। So let's read the question first. Okay. The fair value of the net assets of the Spinner company at the date of acquisition. Obviously, आपके स्पिनर कंपनी एक आपके पास सब्सिडरी है। अच्छा, सब्सिडरी कंपनी के नेट एसेट्स वाज इक्वल टू देयर कैरिंग अमाउंट एक्सेप्ट फॉर इंटेंजिबल एसेट। एक इंटेंजिबल एसेट है। एमर जस्ट गिव मी 5 मिनट्स, ठीक है, मैं क्वेश्चन कंप्लीट कर लूं, फिर इसके बाद क्वेश्चन पूछ लेते हैं, ठीक है अमर। अच्छा जनाब, आपके पास इंटेंजिबल एसेट है, क्या कह रहे हैं, इंटेंजिबल एसेट है कैरिंग अमाउंट ऑफ 25 मिलियन एंड अ फेयर वैल्यू ऑफ 35 मिलियन। और मैं आपको गारंटी देखिए, पास्ट पेपर का क्वेश्चन है, लास्ट अटेम्प्ट, बहुत पुरानी अटेम्प्ट नहीं है ये, लास्ट बिल्कुल अटेम्प्ट का क्वेश्चन है ये। आप अपने जितनी भी प्रैक्टिस, आपने चाहे बीपीपी, कैपलान, स्टडी अप, या आपने पास जो भी आपके पास स्पेसिमेन वगैरह के अंदर प्रैक्टिस की होगी, हर क्वेश्चन के अंदर ये एडजस्टमेंट लाजमी मिलती है, चाहे वो बैलेंस शीट का क्वेश्चन ही क्यों ना हो। आपने ये चीज ऑब्जर्व की होगी, मैं आपसे कह रहा हूं, एग्जामिनर रिपीटेटिव एडजस्टमेंट देता है, एक या दो एडजस्टमेंट आपको ऐसी देगा जिसमें आपको तंग करेगा। सर ऐसा क्यों करता है एग्जामिनर? अरे प्रोफेशनल पेपर है यार। प्रोफेशनल आप यहाँ पर क्वालिफिकेशन को परस्यू कर रहे हैं, वर्ल्ड वाइड क्वालिफिकेशन को परस्यू कर रहे हैं, ऑब्वियसली वो आपको कहीं ना कहीं तो थोड़ा सा टेस्ट करेगा ना। तो उसका मतलब ये है कि जो एडजस्टमेंट्स आपको बेस्ट आती है आपने उसमें अपना बेस्ट इनपुट देना है, जो नहीं आती उसमें अपना बेस्ट आउटपुट देने की कोशिश करें। नेवरदलेस अगर हो जाता है तो वेल एंड गुड, नहीं होता तो उसकी वजह से बाकी के मार्क्स को स्पॉइल मत कीजिएगा। खैर, तो उसका मतलब 25 मिलियन उसकी वैल्यू थी, बट फेयर वैल्यू वॉज 35 मिलियन। इट मींस कि यहां पर 10 मिलियन का जो डिफरेंस आ रहा है, इसको नॉर्मली हम कहते हैं फेयर वैल्यू एडजस्टमेंट। इसको नॉर्मली हम कहते हैं इट्स अ फेयर वैल्यू एडजस्टमेंट। इसको नॉर्मली कहा जाता है इट्स अ फेयर वैल्यू एडजस्टमेंट, ऐसा ही है। मेरा कैमरा ऑन है, सबको मेरी वीडियो क्लियर है? जी। सर आप चेक करें, मेरे ख्याल है आपका शायद होगा, आप रीज्वाइन करके देख लें मीटिंग एक मरतबा। मीटिंग रीज्वाइन करके देख लें। मीटिंग रीज्वाइन करके देख लें। चलिए आप, अच्छा फेयर वैल्यू एडजस्टमेंट मेरे पास आ रही है, यानी कि 25 मिलियन के एसेट्स है मेरे पास। 25 मिलियन के एसेट्स है मेरे पास। और इसी तरीके से मेरे पास यहां पर 25 मिलियन के एसेट्स के साथ साथ, 25 मिलियन के एसेट्स के साथ साथ कह रहे हैं कि अब इसकी मार्केट वैल्यू या फेयर वैल्यू हो चुकी है, दैट इज 45 मिलियन, सॉरी 35 मिलियन। सो इट मीन 10 मिलियन का हमारे पास यहाँ पर फेयर वैल्यू आ रहा है। यानी कि फेयर वैल्यू आपके पास ये जो कि नेट एसेट्स के अंदर या गुडविल के अंदर नॉर्मली हम इसको एडजस्ट करते हैं। फिलहाल हमें यहाँ पर अभी, फिलहाल अभी हमें पीएनएल यहाँ पे ड्राफ्ट करना है। वी डोंट नो कि यहाँ पे पीएनएल की क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है, यानी कि यहाँ पर ऐसा क्यों कर रहा है। अच्छा आगे कह रहे हैं दे वर एस्टिमेटेड टू हैव अ यूजफुल लाइफ ऑफ 20 years फ्रॉम 1 अप्रैल, यानी कि आज एट द डेट ऑफ एक्विजिशन से अब यहां पर उसकी जो यूजफुल लाइफ है दैट इज 20 years। एमोटाइजेशन चार्जेस आर प्रेजेंटेड इन दी एडमिन एक्सपेंसेस, यानी कि फेयर वैल्यू एडजस्टमेंट आपके पास दी हुई है। और उस फेयर वैल्यू एडजस्टमेंट के अंदर कह रहा है कि फेयर वैल्यू जो आपके पास एडजस्टमेंट होगी दैट वुड बी ऑफ 10 मिलियन। ये 10 मिलियन की एडजस्टमेंट हमारे लिए बहुत ही रेलिवेंट होती कब, अगर हमें गुडविल कैलकुलेट करना हो। अब ये भी नहीं पता, हो सकता है एग्जामिनर ने एट द एंड ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन हमें कहा हो कि आपने गुडविल कैलकुलेट करनी है। अगर तो गुडविल कैलकुलेट करनी है तो हम इस 10 मिलियन को वहां पे यूज करेंगे। यहां पर हमारे लिए जो ज्यादा रेलिवेंट है पीएनएल को देखते हुए, सिर्फ पीएनएल को देखते हुए नहीं, हमारे लिए जो ज्यादा रेलिवेंट है दैट इज द एमोटाइजेशन चार्ज। हम एमोटाइजेशन कैलकुलेट करेंगे। कैसे कैलकुलेट करेंगे उसको भी हम देख भी लेते हैं, और उसको हम देखेंगे कि किस तरीके से कहां पर पुट करना है। खैर, आफ्टर 1 अप्रैल स्मिनर कंपनी यानी कि सब्सिडरी कंपनी की बात हो रही है अगेन। सब्सिडरी कंपनी सोल्ड गुड्स टू स्टिपुलाटो कंपनी फॉर अ टोटल ऑफ 15 मिलियन। सर ये आपके पास यहां पर दे रहा है सेल्स, ऐसा ही है। यानी कि सब्सिडी ने गुड्स बेचे हैं। एंड मार्क माय वर्ड्स, आपने जितने भी क्वेश्चंस की प्रैक्टिस की होंगी, कर रहे होंगे, आपको नॉर्मली ये इंट्रा सेल्स वाली ट्रांजैक्शन हर जगह नजर आ रही होगी। बहुत ही कॉमन, बहुत ही फ्रीक्वेंट ट्रांजैक्शन है ये। कह रहा है कि सब्सिडी ने सेल्स की है, किसको सेल्स की है? पेरेंट कंपनी को। इट मींस कि सब्सिडी कंपनी गुड्स बेच रही है, किसको? पेरेंट कंपनी को सेल आउट कर रही है। ओके, मार्कअप ऑफ 25%, यानी कि $15 मिलियन की सेल्स की है। $15 मिलियन की सेल्स की है, और जिसके ऊपर यहां पर मार्कअप है दैट इज 25%। 75% ऑफ दीज गुड्स सोल्ड टू, ऑफ दीज गुड्स टू थर्ड पार्टीज, यानी कि 75% बेच दिया। हमें 75% से कंसर्न नहीं है, हमें यहां पर कंसर्न है, हमें यहां पर कंसर्न है किससे? दैट इज दी, हमें यहां पर कंसर्न है किससे? हमें यहां पर कंसर्न है अनसोल्ड गुड्स से। अनसोल्ड गुड्स से हमें यहां पर कंसर्न है। क्या यहां तक बात समझ में आ रही है सबको? वो भी हम इसके अंदर भी कैलकुलेट कर लेते हैं। खैर, एक काम करते हैं, पहले इन दोनों एडजस्टमेंट्स की वैल्यूज को कैलकुलेट कर लेते हैं। पहले हम इन दोनों एडजस्टमेंट्स की वैल्यूज को यहां पर कैलकुलेट कर लेते हैं। फिर हम इसके बाद जो है वो पीएनएल को ड्राफ्ट करेंगे, और ड्राफ्ट करने के बाद जो है हम यहां पर उसका जो है वो सॉल्व करेंगे, यानी कि इसकी सारी वैल्यूज को पुट ऑन करेंगे। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कि अगर मैं यहां पर देखूं तो मेरे पास यहां पर फेयर वैल्यू एडजस्टमेंट 10 मिलियन की एडजस्टमेंट है। और अगर मैं यहां पर डेप्रिसिएशन का अमाउंट कैलकुलेट करूं, डेप्रिसिएशन का अमाउंट मुझे कैलकुलेट करना है। मुझे बताएं कि मेरे पास यहां पर फेयर वैल्यू एडजस्टमेंट, डेप्रिस मेरे पास फेयर वैल्यू एडजस्टमेंट दैट इज ऑफ 10 मिलियन। अब मुझे बताएं रिमेनिंग यूजफुल लाइफ, जो उसकी लाइफ दे रहा है दैट इज ऑफ 20 ईयर्स। 20 ईयर्स की इसकी लाइफ आ रही है। 20 ईयर्स की इसकी लाइफ आ रही है। 10 मिलियन आपके पास फेयर वैल्यू गेन है, या फेयर वैल्यू आपके पास यहां पर रिवैल्यूएशन है या फेयर वैल्यू है जिसकी आपने अपग्रेड किया, और इस 10 मिलियन का हम डेप्रिसिएशन कैलकुलेट एमोटाइजेशन कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं बाय द वे। अच्छा, है कोई जो मुझे बता सके कि व्हाई वी आर कैलकुलेटिंग द एमोटाइजेशन, और क्यों हम एडजस्ट करते हैं? टेक्निकली ऐसे ही क्वेश्चन है कि हम क्यों इसको एडजस्ट कर रहे होते हैं। जी एनीवन, अगर माइक भी अगर कोई ओपन करना चाहता है, यस यू कैन।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
वालेकुम सलाम जी मैम।
जी जी सर, जो हम इधर कैलकुलेट करेंगे वो जब हमारा प्रॉफिट जो एनसीआई को हमारा एट्रीब्यूटेबल होगा उसमें हम एडजस्ट करेंगे नहीं सर?
बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है, बिल्कुल
डेप्रिसिएशन।
ऐसा ही है, लेकिन व्हाई व्हाई वी आर कैलकुलेटिंग दैट डेप्रिसिएशन एंड व्हाई वी आर एडजस्टिंग, क्यों एडजस्ट कर रहे हैं इसको हम? ट्रीटमेंट आपने बिल्कुल परफेक्ट बताई है।
क्योंकि सर एनसीआई जो है वो मतलब दूसरे शेयर होल्डर्स का हिस्सा है ना, तो इस
बिल्कुल।
वजह से हम उसको सेपरेट कर देंगे और जो
अच्छा,
हमारा खुद का हिस्सा होगा उसको हम।
जबरदस्त, परफेक्ट हो गया। अच्छा, इसका लॉजिकल एक रीजन ये कि देखें, हम यहां पर सब्सिडरी कंपनी के अकाउंट्स को मर्ज कर रहे हैं, गौर से सुनिएगा। जब मैं सब्सिडरी कंपनी के अकाउंट्स को कंसोलिडेट कर रहा हूं, तो एक आपके पास 10 मिलियन की अमाउंट है जो सब्सिडरी कंपनी ने अपने बुक्स में रिकॉर्ड ही नहीं की। और एज पर आईएफआरएस रूल, याद रखिएगा, आईएफआरएस का रूल क्या है? दो चीजें, इन्वेस्टमेंट एंड नेट एसेट्स, बोथ शुड बी मेजर्ड एट इट्स फेयर वैल्यू, मार्केट वैल्यू। यानी कि आपने सब्सिडरी कंपनी को एक्वायर करने के लिए जो इन्वेस्टमेंट की है और जो नेट एसेट्स हैं, दोनों को आपने फेयर वैल्यू यानी कि मार्केट वैल्यू के ऊपर मेजर करना है। दोनों को आपने मार्केट वैल्यू में मेजर करना है। तो अगर नेट एसेट्स हैं, तो नेट एसेट्स सब्सिडरी कंपनी के मार्केट वैल्यू पे होने चाहिए। अब यहां पर क्या कह रहा है कि सब्सिडरी कंपनी ने अपने एसेट्स को या अपने इनटेंजिबल एसेट्स को 25 मिलियन पे रिकॉर्ड किया हुआ है, जबकि उसकी फेयर वैल्यू या मार्केट वैल्यू इज 35 मिलियन। तो उसका मतलब ये कि सब्सिडी कंपनी ने वो 10 मिलियन की अमाउंट रिकॉर्ड ही नहीं की। और जब 10 मिलियन का इंटेंजिबल एसेट रिकॉर्ड ही नहीं किया, तो उसका मतलब यह है कि सब्सिडरी कंपनी ने 10 मिलियन के ऊपर एमोटाइजेशन भी कैलकुलेट ही नहीं की। तो इसका मतलब यह है कि जब मैं कंसोलिडेट करूंगा, तो मुझे 10 मिलियन के ऊपर जो भी एमोटाइजेशन बनता है, वो एमोटाइजेशन की अमाउंट को कैलकुलेट करना पड़ेगा। तो इसीलिए हम यहां पर एमोटाइजेशन को कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं और हम इसको पीएनएल के अंदर एडजस्ट करेंगे, क्योंकि सब्सिडरी कंपनी के अकाउंट्स अभी अपडेटेड नहीं है फॉर कंसोलिडेशन पर्पस। सब्सिडरी कंपनी के अकाउंट्स अभी एडजस्टेड नहीं है, रेडी नहीं है फॉर कंसोलिडेशन पर्पस। तो इसीलिए हम सब्सिडरी कंपनी के अकाउंट्स में ये एडजस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं एंड देन फिर हम इसको कंसोलिडेट कर रहे हैं। जी बिल्कुल नारायण, वेरी गुड। चलिए जनाब, जी शहीर, यू वांट टू आस्क समथिंग?
Yes, yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
वालेकुम।
So for that, as ma'am said, for that we have to find out the solution. What is it? Because it's because of the depreciation has to be adjusted for in a profit or loss account. Because it has not been properly correctly, we have to find out the solution. What is the main reason why subsidiary it? It could be the main reason of it. Could be any issue of the cost of it that has to be adjusted with it for the
एग्जैक्ट
consolidated the profit or loss account statement. Because we have to know about how accounting standards should be found out the investment for everything else.
Exactly. That is the reason that we are adjusting the accounts of a subsidiary company, since the accounts of the subsidiary companies have not yet been adjusted. The intangible asset was measured at 25 million. Instead, it should have been 35 million. So what we are
Yeah,
doing?
absolutely. Because we have to find out solution. It could be main issue of the subsidiary company. They have to understand how they have to adjust it. That's why they made a loss of it. It could be an
Nice.
issue
Very
of it.
exactly. Okay. Now let's calculate the depreciation or the amortization. By the way, amortization, and how are we going to calculate the amortization? That is 10 million is the fair value adjustment divided by life, and we will calculate the amortization for that. And by the way, this will give rise to 0.5 million, right? But this is the annual depreciation or the annual amortization. We need an amortization for 9 months. We need an amortization for 9 months. So we are going to multiply it by 9 and divide it by 12, right? Yes, it's 0.375. It's 0.375. That is the amortization that we are going to adjust. Exactly. नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन, आगे चलते हैं जरा। इसके बाद ये हमने यहाँ पे अमोर्टाइजेशन एडजस्ट करनी है, कैसे करनी है, क्या करनी है, वो हम इंशाल्लाह पीएनएल के ऊपर जाके देखते हैं। आफ्टरवर्ड्स व्हाट हैपेंड दैट सब्सिडी कंपनी सोल्ड गुड्स टू अ पेरेंट कंपनी, सब्सिडी ने पेरेंट को गुड्स सेल आउट किया। एंड रिमेंबर, जब भी ये इंट्रा ट्रांजेक्शन होगी, रिमेंबर प्लीज इसको अपने पास नोट डाउन कीजिएगा, दो इश्यूज यहां पर नॉर्मली अराइज होते हैं। नंबर वन, दैट इज द इंट्रा सेल्स एंड परचेजेस, इंट्रा सेल्स एंड परचेजेस। नंबर वन, पहला इश्यू जो अराइज होता है दैट इज द इंट्रा सेल्स एंड परचेजेस, और जो सेकंड इश्यू अराइज होता है दैट इज द अनरियलाइज्ड प्रॉफिट। ये दो प्रॉब्लम्स को आपने काउंटर करना है यहां पर आपने इन दो पॉइंट्स को आपने काउंटर करना है। नंबर वन, इंट्रा सेल्स एंड परचेजेस, नंबर टू दैट इज द अनरियलाइज्ड प्रॉफिट। ये दो चीजों को हम यहां पर काउंटर करेंगे, ये दो चीजों को हमें यहां पर काउंटर करना है, इन दो चीजों को हमें रिजॉल्व करना होगा। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, subsidiary sold goods to parent company, it means it's an intra sales for the subsidiary company, as well as it's an intra purchases for the parent company as well. So what we are going to do, we are going to eliminate this $15 million from the sales of a subsidiary company, as well as from the purchases of a parent company. Secondly, यूआरपी की कैलकुलेशन। सर यूआरपी कैसे कैलकुलेट करेंगे? अनरियलाइज्ड प्रॉफिट, अनरियलाइज्ड प्रॉफिट की कैलकुलेशन कैसे होगी? हाउ वी आर गोइंग टू कैलकुलेट द अनरियलाइज्ड प्रॉफिट? 15 million, that is 15,000 or 15 million, multiply by, it's a markup of 25%, we are going to multiply it by 25. And anyone, can you please let me know what is going to be on the denominator side? What is going to be on the denominator side? 125, very good. 125. And remember, 75% of these goods were sold. You have to read the instruction properly. यहां पर ये नहीं कहा कि 75% are unsold. Sold 75%, which means कि 25% unsold है. So we are going to multiply it by 25%. Can anyone please let me know the answer of it? 125? It's 750. 15 million multiplied by 25 divided by 125 and in times 0.25, it's 750, that is 0.75. 0.75, so that is the URP जो कि हमें यहाँ पे एडजस्ट करनी है। 0.75 जो कि हम यहाँ पर यूआरपी को एडजस्ट करेंगे, दैट इज अनरियलाइज्ड प्रॉफिट। इसकी एडजस्टमेंट कहां कहां पर होगी तो वो हम इंशाल्लाह आगे चल के इसको डिस्कस करते हैं। चले आगे चलते जरा। इसके बाद स्मिनर कंपनी पेड, दैट इज अगेन अ सब्सिडरी कंपनी, पेड अ डिविडेंड ऑफ 1 million on 30th November. The dividend was paid at the end of the accounting period, that is on 30th of November. 30th of November, stipulated company presents dividend received in investment income. It means that is a dividend which the subsidiary company has paid to the parent company, and this dividend is already included in the investment income of a parent company. Investment income of a parent company. And one more thing, that since the dividend was paid for $1 million and Spinner company has paid a dividend of $1 million, so remember, ये जो 1000 या $1 million का डिविडेंड पे किया, ये पूरा पेरेंट को नहीं किया होगा, हमें यहां पर परसेंटेज ऑफ एक्विजिशन अप्लाई करना है। अगर यहां पे स्टेटमेंट लिखी हुई होती है स्पिनर कंपनी पेड अ डिविडेंड टू स्टिपुलेटिव कंपनी, तो फिर हम यहां पे कहते हैं कि ये डिविडेंड वो है जो सिर्फ पेरेंट कंपनी को दिया है। But this is not the complete amount of dividend received by the parent company. That is the total dividend paid by the subsidiary, out of which 80%, I guess, the percentage of acquisition is 80%. Yes, 80% is received by the parent company. So we are going to apply 1 million into 80%. That means 800, right? जी यहां तक बात समझ में आ रही है? So दिस इज द डिविडेंड जो कि हमें यहां पर करना क्या है, ये इनकम है जो कि इंट्रा ट्रांजेक्शन है। इंट्रा ट्रांजेक्शन को हम यहां पर एलिमिनेट कर देंगे। अच्छा, स्मिनर कंपनी अगेन अ सब्सिडरी कंपनी, रिकॉग्नाइज अ रीवैल्यूएशन इंक्रीज ऑफ $5 million ऑन 31st December 2008। ईयर एंड के ऊपर रीवैल्यूएशन रिकॉर्ड किया है। एंड रिमेंबर, इट्स अ पोस्ट एक्विजिशन रीवैल्यूएशन, और पोस्ट एक्विजिशन रीवैल्यूएशन सरप्लस will become the part of your consolidated financial statement. हम इसको consolidated accounts का part बनाते हैं। Yes, any revaluation surplus at the date of acquisition will be the part of goodwill calculation. फिर हम उसको goodwill की calculation में include करते हैं, हम उसको post acquisition को जो है वो consolidated accounts का part बनाते हैं. तो obviously हम उसको entertain करेंगे. कैसे entertain करेंगे, we'll look into that one. Okay. Fifth point. Also, on 1st April, that is on the same date of acquisition, the Stipulative Company acquired 30% of the ordinary share capital of Hart Horse Company. The Stipulative Company has a significant influence of Hart Horse. Can you please let me know कि Hart Horse Company हमारे लिए क्या है अब? Hart Horse Company क्या है हमारे लिए? Nice, very good. Zabardast, excellent. It's an associate company. It's an associate company. Associate company है. 30% shares were acquired. So Hard Horse Company generated a profit for the year 31st December of 20 million. It's a profit after tax of an associate company. The investment in Hard Horse Company was found to be impaired by $1 million as the market in which it operates saw a significant decline following the acquisition. It means that is an impairment loss. That is an impairment loss. अच्छा, मुझे कोई बताएगा जरा कि यहां पर एसोसिएट कंपनी, मुझे कोई बताएगा कि यहां पर एसोसिएट कंपनी की अगर हम बात करें तो एसोसिएट कंपनी से रिलेटेड क्या वो आइटम है जो कि हम अपनी पीएनएल के अंदर इनको ऑपरेट करते हैं, कंसोलिडेटेड पीएनएल के अंदर ऑपरेट करते हैं. यस, एनीवन? यूआरबी एडजस्टमेंट एसोसिएट कंपनी से वो कौन सा लाइन आइटम है जो कि हम अपनी पीएनएल के अंदर इनकॉपरेट करेंगे? कंसोलिडेटेड पीएनएल से रिलेटेड वो कौन सा लाइन आइटम है? Sophia, yes, it's a statement. It's a share of profit in associate. Remember, नॉट इन इन्वेस्टमेंट इन एसोसिएट. रिमेंबर प्लीज एक चीज याद रखिएगा, एसोसिएट से रिलेटेड आपने सिर्फ दो काम करने हैं, पूरे कंसोलिडेशन की बात कर रहा हूं. एक, इसका इंपैक्ट जाएगा बैलेंस शीट के अंदर जिसको हम कहते हैं CSFP, कंसोलिडेटेड स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन. दूसरा इंपैक्ट जाएगा पीएनएल के अंदर जिसको नॉर्मली हम कहते हैं कंसोलिडेटेड स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस. एसोसिएट कंपनी के लाइन आइटम्स कंसोलिडेट नहीं होते. एसोसिएट कंपनी के लाइन आइटम्स को हम मर्ज नहीं करते. हम सिर्फ एसोसिएट से रिलेटेड दो चीजें कैलकुलेट करते हैं. एक बैलेंस शीट में यानी कि सीएसएफपी में रिकॉर्ड होगी, एक पीएनएल दैट इज सीएसपीएल में रिकॉर्ड होगी. सीएसएफपी में जो रिकॉर्ड होती है उसको हम कहते हैं इन्वेस्टमेंट इन एसोसिएट. इन्वेस्टमेंट इन एसोसिएट. इन्वेस्टमेंट इन एसोसिएट. और सीएसपीएल के अंदर जो रिकॉर्ड होता है इसको हम कहते हैं शेयर ऑफ प्रॉफिट इन एसोसिएट. शेयर ऑफ प्रॉफिट इन एसोसिएट जिसको नॉर्मली मैं प्यार से सोफिया कहता हूं, सोफिया, सोफिया. और इन्वेस्टमेंट इन एसोसिएट को नॉर्मली मैं प्यार से ईया कहता हूं, ईया, ईया. ईया मींस इन्वेस्टमेंट इन एसोसिएट, सोफिया मींस शेयर ऑफ प्रॉफिट इन एसोसिएट. मेरे पास एक पूरी कंपाइल्ड पीडीएफ है जिसके अंदर मैंने सारी वर्किंग्स को लिस्ट डाउन किया हुआ है. सारी वर्किंग्स मैंने उसके अंदर लिस्ट डाउन की हुई है कि ग्रुप रिटेन अर्निंग में क्या चीजें आ सकती है, मैक्सिमम एनसीआई में क्या चीजें आ सकती हैं, इसी तरीके से सोफिया कैसे कैलकुलेट होता है, इसी तरीके से आपके पास शेयर ऑफ प्रॉफिट इन एसोसिएट कैसे कैलकुलेट होता है. सो एट द एंड आई विल बी शेयरिंग माय कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर. यू कैन रीच मी आउट. मैं आपको इंशाल्लाह वो पूरी फाइल डिलीवर कर दूंगा. और मैंने कंसोलिडेशन की पूरी एंट्रीज बनाई हुई है उसके अंदर कि किस तरीके से एक एक एडजस्टमेंट की, मैक्सिमम एडजस्टमेंट्स की मैंने एंट्रीज बनाई हुई है. सो आई कैन डेफिनेटली शेयर दिस फाइल विद यू सो दैट दिस कुड हेल्प यू आउट इन द प्रिपरेशन ऑफ योर एग्जाम्स. खैर, तो सोफिया हमारे पास यहाँ पर है. तो हमें यहाँ पर करना कि हम पीएनएल जब कंसोलिडेट कर रहे हैं तो अभी फिलहाल इन्वेस्टमेंट एंड एसोसिएट हमारे लिए काम की नहीं है. हमें सोफिया यानी कि शेयर ऑफ प्रॉफिट एंड एसोसिएट को कंसिडर करना होगा. कैसे करेंगे अभी हम कैलकुलेट करते हैं. अच्छा, Stipulato company issued 10 million. That is again, it's a parent company by the way. This time, parent company issued $10 million 5% loan notes on 1st April. It means parent company has issued a loan note. Parent company ने जो है वो loan note यहाँ पर issue किए हैं यानी कि loan लिया है, liability है 5% on 1st April at a nominal value with the interest payable in arrears. The effective rate is 12%. अब यहां पर एग्जामिनर ने आईएफआरएस 9 का छोटा सा कॉन्सेप्ट टेस्ट किया. दो इंटरेस्ट रेट यहां पर दे दिए, 5% एंड 12%. अब यहां पर हमें रिकॉर्ड करना है इंटरेस्ट कैसे, द इनिशियल इश्यू ऑफ द लोन नोट्स हैज बीन अकाउंटेड फॉर करेक्टली, कह रहे लोन तो आपने रिकॉर्ड कर दिया है बट नो अदर अकाउंटिंग एंट्रीज हैव बीन रिकॉग्नाइज्ड। कहना क्या चाहते हो एग्जामिनर, इंटरेस्ट को रिकॉर्ड नहीं किया। अब जब मैं इंटरेस्ट कैलकुलेट करूंगा तो मुझे बताएं कि विच इंटरेस्ट रेट शुड बी कंसिडर्ड। Sure, we can have the session in English as well, no problem. Okay, so which interest rate? Yes, effective rate should be considered. Remember, effective rate should be considered whenever the coupon or the interest rate. That 5% is basically a coupon rate. Whenever we charge interest in P&L, we always calculate the interest on the basis of effective rate. We never record interest or the finance cost based on the coupon rate. We always recognize the interest on the effective rate. Now, that is something we have learned the adjustment. We have read out all the adjustments. Now, what is the requirement? The main requirement of this question is to prepare the consolidated P&L. We need to draw the consolidated profit and loss account. And there is another requirement for 4 marks that explain the principles behind the accounting treatment of Hard Horse. Hard Horse Company is basically an associate company. Don't forget, it's an associate company. So, what accounting treatment is applied for the associate company? How this could be recognized in the statement of financial position? Yes, how this will be recognized, and we have already discussed that in the statement of financial position, sorry, in the consolidated statement of financial position, the investment in associate will be recognized. And which accounting treatment will be applied? Anyone could let me know that which accounting treatment is applied in relation to the associate company. Can anyone please let me know that which accounting treatment is applied? Which accounting treatment? Can anyone please let me know the concept? Can anyone please let me know the concept? Which accounting treatment is applied? Yes. Excellent, Kiran. Very good. It's an equity accounting. Very good, Faizan. Yes, Amber. Very good. It's an equity accounting. That we are using the equity accounting. So that is something the 4th mark requirement. It's a very simple requirement that you need to just state that the equity accounting is applied for the Hard Horse Company as it's an associate company as per IAS 28. So it means it's an equity accounting. And how this associate company will be recorded in the consolidated financial position? So we are going to calculate the investment in associate. Investment in associate. Okay. Yes, Shahir, you wanted to ask something?
Yes. So you said it's an equity accounting because of the balance sheet, it's going to be measured, right? The investment also see it because of 12%, and you mentioned it's going to be an investment to see it's a balance sheet. Share profit is profit and loss account. So equity accounting is always
Yes.
a balance sheet.
Remember, the equity accounting is basically the name. This is given by the IFRS, that is IAS 28. It doesn't
Yeah, as far as accounting standards of it, because in the balance sheet it is an investment associate.
balance sheet. It is not the case. It's just a random name that is given by the IFRS that we will call it as equity accounting. Equity accounting means that you need to. Equity accounting means that you will not be recognizing the associate company, or you will not be recording the assets and liabilities of the associate company in the consolidated accounts.
Oh, I see.
Equity
Yeah,
accounting
it
means
cannot be like this because balance sheet is like separate of it because it's an accounting standard. We have to measure of it. We have to find out the solution.
Yes, equity accounting means that you will be recognizing the investment in associate in the balance sheet, and you will be recognizing the share of profit in associate in the
The accounting
consolidated
standards
P&L.
only, not the calculation. We have to know about the accounts or fire standards.
Sorry, can you please repeat?
IS, accounting standards, and IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards.
Yes.
And National Accounting Standard Law. So we have to know which one is like account standards or IFRS standard. We have to understand it.
It's an IS 28 basically. Equity accounting or the accounting for the associate company is relevant
Or
for.
in accounting standard 28 because we have to know about the numbers of it. Like profit plant is 16 and IFRS is 16 for the lease.
Yes.
Intangibles 38.
For equity accounting, it's not an IFRS, it's an IS 28. Whenever you are
Yeah,
doing an
I
associate.
know because of accounting standard of it. ISS, International Accounting Standard 28, equity accounting.
Yes, it's an equity accounting which is guided by the IAS 28. IAS 28 guides you that how to deal with the associate accounting treatment. Okay, now let's move on towards the second side that we are going to apply all the adjustments. And since so far what I've done, I have read out all the adjustments, and you must know and you must have realized it that majority of the adjustments are simple and up to the mark. You cannot say that these adjustments are very difficult. Yes, there might be a possibility that you might face certain challenges in one or two adjustments, but majority of the adjustments are simple, and you can easily, out of that 20 marks, you can easily score 12 to 13 marks. It's not a big deal. It's not a difficult or the impossible task. So it means that you have to be very confident while you are attempting that particular question. Now let's move on towards the practical side, and I'm going to draft the consolidated P&L format first of all. And remember what I said at the start of the session, that I'll be drafting the consolidated P&L question, and I'll be solving the question according to the IFRS 18. Yes, I'll be solving that question as per IFRS 18, since it will be tested in your exams now. The examiner is going to test IFRS 18. So obviously this is going to be very important for you guys. So let me share the format, that how the examiner would test and how the format will be prepared for. Okay. Can you guys see my Excel file? Okay, now let me draft the first of all the format. First of all, the format of the IFRS of income statement, that is a statement of profit and loss account as per IFRS 18. Now, first of all, what is the change? First, initially, what we were doing, we were preparing the income statement in a very simple way. First, we calculated the gross profit, then we had operating expenses and other income, and then we had the profit from operations, and afterwards, we have some income taxes, interest expense, and then finally we arrived at the profit. But now, in the latest update, IFRS stated now the income statement should be categorized in the five main categories, in the six main categories, by the way. That is, first of all, you will be highlighting the operations. Number two, the investing. Number three is the finance, income taxes, and then non-current asset or the discontinued operations. So it means now the income statement will be drafted at the different stages. Now, what will be the format? Now, listen to me very carefully. I'm drafting the format over here. That is, first of all, you will take the net sales, or at times we call it as revenue. Then we are going to deduct the cost of goods sold in the same way that we did previously, and obviously we'll arrive at the gross profit. So far there is no change. There is no change so far. Now what's next? What's next? After calculating the gross profit, what we will do, we will add the other income area, other operating income, and we are going to deduct the other operating expenses. First, let me drop the format and then I will explain you. After deducting the other operating expense, what happens over here, that we will get the profit from operations. Profit from operations. Initially, what we were doing, that once we were recognizing the expenses, we were recognizing all the expenses. For example, we were recognizing the fair value loss, we were recognizing the fair value gain, we were recognizing the depreciation expense, we were recognizing the rental income, rental expense. So what we were doing, once we were recognizing the revenue, other income and other expenses, we were recognizing all over the revenues and expenses or income and expenses at one place. But now the IFRS states that you will not be doing that again. Now what you will be doing, that you will be recognizing the other operating income and other operating expenses, and afterwards what you will be doing, that you will be recognizing the income and expenses. Remember, income and expenses from investing activities. Yes, income and expenses from investing activities. Now, let me give you an example from the income and expenses from investing activities. For example, you might have received the amount of dividend income. Dividend income. This is your investment income, by the way. It's not an operating income. Now, let me give you an example for the other operating income. Other operating income means that you might be receiving some rent income. You might be receiving some, for example, commission income. It means that is the income which is related to operation. So far, that relates to operation. So it means now the IFRS states that now you have to bifurcate. That is known as what? The reclassification, disclassification. You need to bifurcate that what revenues and expenses, what income and expenses you have derived from the operations, what income and expenses that you have derived from the investment. So you need to account it for separately. You have to account for the income and expenses in a separate way. So dividend income that we have recognized, that is the income from the investing activities. Again, a fair value gain, a fair value gain. It's a fair value gain as per, it's a fair value gain as per IAS 40. It's a fair value gain as per IAS 40. Expenses from the investing activities. Yes, are you guys clear with this one? Admin expenses, it's an operating expense. Admin, distribution, marketing, these are all basically the operating expenses. These are all basically the operating expenses. Let me repeat it again. 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 Remember that the fair value gain. What is fair value gain? That whenever we are measuring the IS, we are measuring the investment property. That is as per IS 40. We are measuring the property at its fair value model. So IS 40 states that any increase or decrease in the fair value, it means any gain or loss in the fair value will be recognized directly to the P&L, will be recognized directly to the P&L account. So it means that will be recorded as an income or expenses. Are you getting a point? So that fair value gain or loss will be recognized under the head of income and expenses from investing activities. One more thing that we can recognize over here. One more thing that is which is relevant for a consolidation purpose as well. Share of profit in associate that we have already discussed. That is I call it as Sophia. Share of that is also an investment. That is also an investment income. That is also an investment income. So share of profit in associate, that is Sophia. This will also be recognized under the head of income and expenses from the investing activities. Sorry. Then we are going to recognize that is the income and expenses. Income and expenses from financing activities. Financing activities. Remember, now IFRS states that you will not be recognizing all income and expenses at one place. Instead, you will be classifying it whether the income and expenses from the operating activities, part 1, whether the income and expenses from the investing activities, part 2, whether the income and expenses from the financing activities, that is a part 3. Now, in this financing activity, we'll be recognizing the finance cost. Yes, finance cost on borrowing or loan. And in this question, we have seen this thing and we'll be recording it. Number 2, what else? Unwinding of interest. Unwinding of interest. And you remember that there could be an unwinding of loan amount that is payable, and there could be an unwinding of receivable amount. And we all know that unwinding of loan, provision, or liability will be recognized as a finance cost as an expense. But unwinding of receivables will be recognized as a finance income. So it means income and expenses from the financing activities. That is finance cost on loan, that is the borrowed amount. Unwinding of interest. Unwinding of interest on provision. Remember, provision for dismantling cost, provision for environmental cost. We recognize the provision at its present value. One more thing, that is the interest on lease agreement. Lease agreement, lease liability, yes. So there could be an interest on lease liability. There could be an interest as per IFRS 16. So these are all and income and expenses that is related to the financing activities. So we are not going to recognize all expenses and income at one place. So we are doing what? We are categorizing that these are the income and expenses from the operating activities. These are the income and expenses from the investing, the financing. Yes, why not? IFRS 9, investment in loan. IFRS 9, investment in loan. Yes, if you are issuing the debenture and bonds, very good, excellent. So there could be an interest. There could be an interest on debentures. Interest on debentures. By the way, this is something that I've already covered in the part one. This is one. The finance cost on loan. This is basically the same. That loan amount, or if there is a loan amount, the debentures or bonds. So obviously that effective rate will also be included. As I said, that we will be incorporating it right now. In this particular question, there is a loan which is issued by the parent company. So obviously we'll be recording it. If you are purchasing, then obviously that is going to be interest income. If you are making an investment, obviously you'll be recording an investment income. So yes, we can recognize that interest income on debentures. Yes. So all kinds of interest that you are earning or you are paying off, this will be recognized under this head. Now, after doing this one, so what we are going to do, we are going to record, we are going to have a total, that is profit before finance, profit before tax, by the way, profit before tax. Okay, before this, one more subtotal is required. One more subtotal is required, and that total is related to profit before finance and income. It's a mandatory subtotal. It's a mandatory subtotal. Profit before finance and income tax. And afterward, income and expenses from finance activities will be deducted. And afterwards, there will be a subtotal again, that is the profit before tax. Profit before tax. And finally, we are going to deduct the income tax as per IAS 12 income tax. And afterwards, there will be a total, that is the profit. That is the profit for the year. But yes, you need to identify it's a profit for the year from continuing asset, continuing operations. Yes, profit for the year from continuing operations. And afterward, we are going to add or less, that is the profit or loss from discontinued operation. Discontinued operation. Remember, as per IFRS 5. Yes, as per IFRS 5. We all know that as per IFRS 5, we do not recognize the income and expenses of the discontinued operation in the normal income statement. Instead, what we do, we calculate the profit and loss from the discontinued operation separately, and plus the gain or loss on the disposal of that discontinued operation. So we will recognize that profit or loss from the discontinued operation separately in a line item, which could either be deducted or it could be added. Like if it is the loss, so it will be deducted. If it is the gain, so it will be added. So this is something, and afterwards we'll get the net profit. That is the final profit that we are going to hear over there. If there is no, if there is no, if there is no, for example, if there is no discontinued operation, obviously will not be recognizing. But this is something that what I have given. I have given you the complete format. I have given you the complete format. Yes, afterwards the OCI will be doing it. But let me, afterwards we are going to incorporate an OCI as well. That is a net profit. We are done. And remember, the income statement is done, and we have prepared the profit and loss account. There is another item. There is another part of this income statement, and most of the organization, what does they do? They recognize the other comprehensive income a separate part. Remember, profit and loss account is different, other comprehensive income is very different. So we can recognize, IFRS allows you to that you can recognize the other comprehensive income in continuation with that one. So OCI, that is other comprehensive income, and the OCI will include, and for our course purposes, there could be two OCI, that is the gain on revaluation, and the fair value gain as per IFRS 9. Fair value gain through OCI. Fair value gain through OCI. That is other comprehensive income. So afterwards, you will get the answer, and that will be known as what? Total comprehensive income. Comprehensive income. Total comprehensive income. That is the total comprehensive income. Now let's do the question that we were studying, that we have read it out, and let's try to apply the question over here. And I hope that you might have taken the picture of that question. Have you guys taken the picture of that PNL part so that we can continue? Profit for the year, we have recognized. We have recognized the profit for the year. We have recognized the profit for the year. We have recognized the profit for the year. That is the last item. That is the net profit. Net profit, we call it as profit for the year, but this is something after recognizing and incorporating the discontinued operation as well. We will calculate the other comprehensive income. Yes, you're right. Let me do it. Once we'll do the working of it, Osman, so we can definitely understand this one. Okay, now let me share the question with you guys so that you can take a picture of it, and then we will solve it. I just need the participation from each and every participant so that you can answer the questions. You can. Okay, here it is the question. So if you can take the picture of it. So my question is visible to everyone. Can you guys see my question? Okay, wait. I guess you can see the question. Now is it visible? Just take the picture of it. You can take the picture of this first part and let me scroll down again. Yes, I'm showing the adjustment right now. Now, that is the second part, OCI. Moving on towards the adjustment side, that is the adjustments. Let me zoom it. Yes, everyone done with the picture? Sure. Here we go. Yes, are you guys done with the picture now? Okay, great. Now let's start with the question. First of all, we have revenues of a stipulated company of 2,25,000, and we know that it's a parent company. We know that it's a parent company. Okay, now let me share with you the work file, that is the Excel file on which we are going to practice it out. So can you guys see the Excel file? Can you guys see the Excel file? Okay, great. First of all, sales revenue of the question, the sales revenue that is given in the question is 2,25,000, 2,25,000. Now let's see that how I am doing the working over here. Bracket open, 2,25,000. For the sake of simplicity, I'll be doing all the workings in thousands. Will not be incorporating the decimal values in millions. I'll be doing all the working in thousands. So 2,25,000 is the parent plus bracket open again. Why? Don't forget, it's a mid-year acquisition. So we are not going to recognize the entire income and expenses of a subsidiary company. So we are going to recognize the post acquisition revenues and expenses of a subsidiary company. So the revenue of subsidiary company is the revenue of a subsidiary company is 1,17,000. 1,17,000. So what we are going to do, 117,000 multiply by 9 divided by 12 bracket close. This is the sales revenue that we have recognized for the parent as well as for subsidy, but for 9 months. Are we clear on this one? Till that, it's not the complete adjustment. We have to obviously make certain adjustment in that one. Intra-company sales. Yes, the intra-company sales were eliminated. We are going to eliminate the intra-company sales as well. So what we have done, we have recognized the parent and the subsidiary. But we know that in the first adjustment, if you just see the first adjustment, I guess it was the first, no, it was the second adjustment, I guess. Yes, in the second adjustment, it was stated that the subsidiary company sold goods to a parent company. Now let me show that in exams how you can work out. How you can remember in exams, you will not be working on a paper. You have to show each and every working on your Excel file, and how it will be showed. Just look at this one. Look at this one. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make the working over here. Intra sales and purchases. Intra sales and purchases. So here is the intra sales or the sales of, I guess the amount of the sales of 15 million. That is 15,000. That is a 15,000. And obviously it's going to be the intra purchases. So intra sales and intra purchases of 15,000 that we need to eliminate, from the sales as well as from the cost of sales. So that is the 15,000 that we need to eliminate. So let's eliminate first of all the intra sales. Let's move on towards the working side, and what we are going to do, we are going to minus the intra sales element. And since we have already plot the value over here, so we can definitely deduct that amount, that is 15,000. And obviously please remember, You have to use the formulas everywhere. Do not type the values over there. So this is something that intra sales that we have calculated. Now, one more thing that we need to do, that is the unrealized profit. Unrealized profit. How the unrealized profit will be calculated? First of all, the intra sales value, that is 15,000. I linked that particular sales cell, multiply by I guess the profit percentage was 25. Please let me know. Please clarify me that if the profit percentage was 25, do participate so that yes, 25 over 125 because it's a markup, right? So it's 25 divided by 125 multiplied by 75% of the goods were sold to the third party. So it means multiply by 25%. Multiply by 25%. So this is something that I have applied the complete formula. Please do not type the values in the Excel file. Most of the students, what they do, they calculate on the calculator and they type the values to the Excel file. Remember, examiner might not be rewarding you any marks. So you have to calculate each and everything. So that is the unrealized profit. Unrealized profit that we are going to adjust. 750 is the unrealized profit. Now, what we are going to do, cost of sales, and remember in the cost of sale, in the cost of goods sold, what we are going to do? Yes, we are going to add, first of all, let's take the cost of goods sold of a parent company. And remember, the cost of goods sold will be deducted because it's an expense. So we'll multiply it by the minus sign. Look, let me zoom out. Let me zoom in the formula. That what I'm doing, that I put the minus sign and I'm going to multiply this minus sign with the entire working so that my resultant would be in a minus sign. Because this is the cost of sales and obviously it's an expense, so we are going to deduct it from the net sales revenue. So cost of sales will be in a minus. Now, first of all, let's take the parent cost of sales. The parent cost of sales, can anyone please help me out? The cost of sales of a parent company is 1,41,000. 1,41,000 plus again a bracket open. Why? Because again, what we are going to do, don't forget, we are going to include the cost of sales of a subsidiary company. But remember, again, it's a mid-year acquisition, so obviously 9 months cost of sales will be entertained. 76,500. 76,500 multiplied by 9 divided by 12, bracket close. Are we clear on this one? Now, very good. Intra purchases will be eliminated. Intra purchases will be eliminated, which is again 15,000. Which is again 15,000. I'm going to refer the cell and now I'm going to add. Now I am going to add the unrealized profit. I'm going to add the unrealized profit. Now I'm going to add unrealized profit. That is 750. Remember that whenever we are eliminating the unrealized profit, what we usually do, we add unrealized profit to the cost of sales. Are we clear on this one? So let's calculate the total of it. Okay, one more thing, that so far what I have calculated the cost of sales, but what other items could be included over here? What other items could be included over here? The depreciation expense and the amortization. Yes, remember, in most of the questions, examiner asks you to calculate the depreciation. That is a fair value depreciation. Fair value depreciation include the fair value depreciation to the cost of sales. But in this question, you must have taken the picture that in this question, it is specifically stated that the depreciation expense will be included in the admin expense. In the admin expense. So it means we are not going to account for that depreciation. Otherwise, most of the time, majority of the times, examiner states that the depreciation or the amortization will be adjusted in the cost of sales. So obviously we must have accounted for that particular depreciation over here. But so far it's not stated over here, so we are not going to adjust it. Are we clear on this one? So we are obviously following the instruction that is given by the examiner. Okay, now let's calculate the gross profit. Let's calculate. in case the examiner doesn't states that, so you just need to observe that which kind of asset it is. For example, it's like a machine or equipment, so we usually classify the depreciation of machine and equipment to the cost of sales. Yes, Hasib, the recordings will be provided. Okay, now let's calculate the gross profit. How the gross profit will be calculated? That is sales minus cost of goods sold. So what we have done, we have calculated the gross profit. And remember, at every point, you will be applying the formula. Please do not type the values. Just look at this. What I've done, I have applied the formula, that is cost minus. And since the minus sign is by default over there, so you do not need to minus in your formula. You will be applying the addition or the sum formula, so that to calculate the gross profit. Now, other operating income. Now, if you just look at the question, do we have any other operating income? The other operating income could be a rent income, it's a commission income, or any advertisement income. So any sort of income that you can see over here. No, there is no other income. There is no other income. We can mark it as zero. One more advice that I would like to give you, that while you are preparing, since few days are left, so whenever you are doing the question of a consolidated P&L or the final account, prepare the entire format, irrespective that whether the adjustments are given over there or not, whether you have other income or not. You just prepare the entire format. Remember, since you will prepare the entire format for quite 2 or 3 times, even in your exams, you can prepare the entire format. If the item is given over there, just put it down. If it is not, just put zero over there, so that you will because this is something new, and for that obviously you need to prepare this format again and again and again. So that's why what I did, I prepared the entire format. I didn't prepare, or I didn't put it the values or the items that are relevant to that question. I incorporated each and everything in this particular question. Are you getting the point? Okay, now for the operating expenses, we have two operating expenses over here. That is the distribution and the admin expenses. First of all, the distribution expense that we can take. First of all, the distribution expense that we can take. First of all, the distribution expense that we can take. For that, I just included few rows over here. And other operating expenses, we have distribution expense, distribution expense, distribution expense. Now, distribution expense. Again, this is an expense and obviously it will be deducted. So we will apply a minus sign, a bracket open. Now, the distribution expense of a parent company. Can anyone please let me know the distribution expense of a parent company? Please let me know the distribution expense of a parent company. It's 11100, right? Yes, it's 11100. So 111 11100 11100 plus again a bracket open, because subsidies, the subsidies expenses, subsidies distribution expense is 4500, again multiply by 9 divided by 12. Yes, excellent. 4500 4500 multiply by 9 and then divided by 12. Now this is something that the expenses we have entertained, but now let's see that I think there was an amortization expense, and let's see that what examiner has stated, that where the amortization will be presented. Okay, now this will be presented in the admin expenses. This will be presented in the admin expenses. So it means there is no change in the distribution expense. There is no further adjustment that will be accounted for. So we are going to total it. Now let's include the admin expense. Admin expense, and for admin expense again a minus sign, bracket open, parents company admin expense. Parent company admin expense. Can anyone please let me know the admin expense of the parents company? Is 18750. Very good. It's 18750. It's 18750. 18750 plus bracket open and the subsidiaries company's admin expense. Subsidiary company's admin expense is 9,000, and again, very good. Multiply by 9 divided by 12. It's 9,000 multiplied by 9 and it's divided by 12. Now, one more thing that you need to account for over here. One more thing that you need to account for over here. And what is that? What is that? That is the amortization, right? Okay, first of all, it's not an excess amortization, it's a fair value amortization. Excess depreciation and excess amortization is something different. It's a fair value amortization. It's a fair value amortization. Now there are two ways. Either you can incorporate the fair value amortization in this formula, or you can calculate it separately. Whatever seems you perfect. If you think that this formula is going to be very complicated, so yes, you can work out over here and you can link the cell to that particular working. So what we are going to do, we are going to calculate the fair value amortization. Fair value amortization, and the fair value amortization, that is, I guess, 10 million, that is 10,000 divided by 20 years was the life, multiply by 9 and then divided by 12. Is it? Was this the actual calculation? That is 375. It's yes. Are we clear on this one? This will be added. Why? Because this amortization will increase the amount of admin expense, reduce the profit, but so far we are calculating the admin expense, so we are going to add it in the admin expenses. Now, admin expenses are recorded, and let's read the question and see that if there is any other expense. So far the admin expenses are incorporated, and as per our format, obviously we are recording the other operating expenses, so we'll not be entertaining any investment income over here, any finance costs or investment expenses over here. So any other expense or income? No, there is no so far. Okay, now let's move on. We are going to calculate the profit from operation, and for this we are going to apply the formula, that is sum, and from gross profit we are selecting over here, bracket close. So here it is the profit from operations. Now, income from investment income, dividend income. Do we have dividend income from parent or subsidiary company? Do we have any other dividend income or the investment income? Yes. We have investment income, which is the dividend income or investment income of 1,000. 1,000 of a parent company, 1,000 of a parent company, but we know that there is no subsidiary income, there is no subsidiaries investment income or the dividend income. But yes, we are going to eliminate the intro item, that is, out of this 1,000, the 80% is related to the dividend income received from the subsidiary company. So we are going to calculate the 80% and we are going to deduct it from 1,000. That is, remaining 200 is the dividend income that is received from others. And see that each and every working that I'm doing over here is by the help of formulas. You cannot type values. Examiner will not be rewarding you. Mark my words. You have to show the calculations. Either you can show the calculation here in the mainstream, or you can either calculate the values in, for example, on the right side, and you can link the shares over there. Okay, fair value gain or loss as per IS 40. There is no IS 40 transaction. There is no IS 40. Let me repeat it again. The dividend that we have received from the subsidiary company, the total dividend income or the investment income that was reported in the parent company account is 1,000. And we have seen there is an adjustment that the subsidiary company has paid a dividend. So it means 80% of the dividend that the parent company has received is from subsidiary company. So what we are going to do, we are going to eliminate that percentage of dividend income, that is 80%. So out of 1,000, 800 will be eliminated. 200 is the dividend income which is received from the other investors. So intra transaction is eliminated, by the way. Are you clear on this one? Ahmad, are you clear on this one? Okay, now let's move on. Let's move on. There is no fair value gain or loss so far. Yes, there is a revaluation surplus, but that is as per IE 16. And such revaluation, we have seen the question. In the question, let me read out the adjustment. In the adjustment, it states that the similar company recognize a revaluation increase on property. It means it's a revaluation surplus. It's a gain on revaluation. Obviously, this will be accounted for, but it will be accounted for in other comprehensive income. So this will not be entertained over here. And yes, now let's move on. And now there is another adjustment that we need to account for, that is the share of profit and associate. In this question, yes, the parent company has invested 30% in Hard Horse Company, and obviously we need to calculate the share of profit and associate. And now, how the share of profit and associate is calculated, let me do the working over here. That is the share of profit and associate, which we call it as Sophia. First of all, what we do, we include the share of, yes, the share of post acquisition profit. We include the share of post acquisition profit. So far, the profit of an associate company. So far, the profit of an associate company, which is given in the question in the adjustment number 5, that is the profit is 20 million, 20,000. Yes, it's 20,000. 20,000. But remember, this 20,000 is the profit of an associate. We need the share. Share means that is the percentage of acquisition. That is 30%. 30%. So it means that is the profit which is 6,000. But remember, this is the profit for the whole year. And so far we acquired an associate company on 1st of April. So obviously we are going to calculate the post acquisition profit, that is 6,000 multiplied by 9 and divided by 12, which is 4,500. Now, this is the profit, but remember, in this profit, we are going to eliminate the impairment loss. Yes, so far the investment is impaired. So there is an impairment loss, and the amount of impairment loss is 1,000, I guess. Yes, it's 1,000. So can you please calculate? It's 3,500. That is the share of profit and associate that will be reported. By the way, what else could be the part of this working? That is unrealized profit. Yes, if the associate sold out some products or goods to the parent company, so there could be an unrealized profit. There could be a dividend. So it means there could be multiple adjustments that could be made it out. I told you at the start of the session that I do have a file in the PDF format in which I have highlighted all the necessary adjustments that could be tested in your exams. So I can definitely share. I'll be sharing my contact number at the end. Yes, the impairment will only be recognized in a very simpler way. That is the impairment on impairment on associate company. So this will be accounted for in a simple way. That is 1,000 will be deducted. So share of profit and associate is 3,500, and let's include it. 3,500. So there is no fair value gain or loss. So we'll mark it as 0. Now let's calculate the profit before finance and income tax. Let's calculate the finance and profit before finance and income tax. So profit before operation was 73,275, and obviously we are going to add So 76975, that is the profit before finance and income tax. Finance and income tax. That is the revaluation gain. That is the gain on revaluation, which will be recorded in OCI. It's not a fair value gain. Amar Usman, it's not a fair value gain. It's a gain on property revaluation. So this will be treated, this will be incorporated in OCI. Now let's move on towards the financing activities. That is the finance cost on loan or the borrowings. Yes, we have any finance cost or the interest expense. Yes, the interest expense which is already given over here is 3,000 for the parent company, right? 3,000 for the parent company. 3,000 for the parent company. It's 3,000 for the parent company plus for subsidiary company. For subsidiary company, the finance cost is 1,400. Fair value gain at the date of acquisition will be recognized in the goodwill. Yes, I'm talking about the post-acquisition fair value revaluation surplus, which is also the part of this question. I will show you. Just wait. Finance cost of a subsidiary company is 1,400, right? 1,400. The finance cost of a subsidiary company is 1,400, and obviously it will be multiplied by 9 and divided by 12, bracket close. And is there any other finance cost that should have been included? So there is a loan transaction that the parent company, I guess, yes, the similarity company issued a $10 million 5% loan note on 1st April. It means the company has issued a loan, which means the company has borrowed the amount. Parent company has borrowed the amount, so obviously the interest expense will be recorded. So 10,000 in times 5%. 10,000 in times 5%. This will be added. Plus 10,000 multiply by 5%. But obviously this loan was taken, or this loan note was issued on 1st April. So obviously this will also be multiplied by 9 and divided by 12. This will also be multiplied by 9 and divided by 12. Are you clear with this working? You just see the formula, you just see the working that I've done over here. Sorry, effective rate will be taken. Yes, 12%. My bad. Effective rate will be taken. That is, the 12% will be taken to calculate the finance cost. 12% will be calculated. 12% will be taken to calculate the finance cost. Multiply by 12%, multiply by 9, divided by 12. In most of the situation, what examiner has done, that examiner stated that incorrectly or wrongly, accountant recorded the interest at its coupon amount. It means the examiner stated that examiner or the accountant has recorded the interest at its coupon amount, that is 5%. So it means now what you have to do, you just need to add back the incorrect amount of interest, and you just need to record the correct amount of interest. So this is something that the examiner has tested quite a couple of times. So you should be mentally prepared for it as well. Yes, the 12% will be taken to calculate the amount of interest expense. Now, let's close the working. And this is something, the finance cost on loan, that is 4950. Yes, I can repeat this one. Yes, solution and the question both will be provided along with the recordings as well. Okay, let me repeat it again. The working which I have done over here, let me show you the working and explain it. First of all, I have taken the finance cost of a parent company at 100%. Then what I have done, I have taken the finance cost of a subsidiary company, but obviously it was prorated to post-acquisition months. Then the parent company has issued a loan note, which means the parent company has borrowed the amount at the rate of 12%. At the rate of 12%. There are two interest rates that is given in the adjustment, that is 5 and the 12%. But we know that whenever we recognize the interest in profit and loss account, we always recognize at effective rate. So that is a 12%. So we calculated the interest at 12%, but obviously this percentage of interest will give you the interest for the whole year, that is for the 12 months. So far, the loan was borrowed on 1st April, so we have proportionated that interest at 9 divided by 12. Are you clear with this one, David? Great. Now, this is something that I have calculated, and now this is the finance cost on loan amount, that is 4950. Yes, there is no unwinding. Obviously, there is no lease liability. So obviously, this will be treated as zero. So why I have recorded over here? Just because of it, so that you can understand that this could be done as well. This could be a part of your P&L as well. So that's why I have just recorded that particular commodities over here, items over here. Now let's calculate the profit before tax. Obviously, we are going to sum. 72025. This is the profit before tax. And now let's calculate. Let's see if there is any income tax expense over here. Income tax expense over here. And do we have income tax expense? Yes. 15,600 is for the parent company. 15,600 for the parent company. So this will be included at 100%. Plus there will be an income tax expense 5,400 multiply by 9 divided by 12. So this is the interest expense, and so far there is no adjustment, so this will be included in a very simpler way. And so far this will be known as what the profit for the year, but again from the continuing operations. So if there is any profit or loss from the discontinued operation, we must have deducted or added, and then obviously we'll arrive at the profit, that is the net. There is 52375. So this is the net profit 52375. And now we are going to incorporate the OCI, that is the gain on revaluation. And remember, the revaluation surplus at the date of acquisition, that was the fair value adjustment, 10 million. This will not be accounted for over here. Why? Because that was the fair value gain at the date of acquisition, and obviously this will be incorporated in the goodwill, so this will not be the part of your revaluation surplus or OCI. Now yes, gain on revaluation of a parent company, this will be recorded at 100%. Gain on revaluation, this will be recorded at 100%, plus subsidiaries post acquisition gain on revaluation will also be recorded. Subsidiaries post acquisition revaluation will also be recorded. And if you just see the question, and that is adjustment number 5, I guess it was the adjustment number 5. Yes, it states that the no, it was not the 5, it was fourth. The fourth adjustment that recognized a revaluation increase in the property of 5 million on 31st December 2005. So it means there is a gain on revaluation of a subsidiary company at the end of the year, which is 15,000, and it's a pure post acquisition revaluation surplus. Obviously, we will recognize this revaluation surplus at 5,000. Are we clear on this one? Okay, now total comprehensive income that we are going to calculate, that is sum, and we are going to add the net profit along with this. So 67375 is the total comprehensive income. And obviously, whenever the examiner asks you for the consolidated P&L, it's not the end, because the most important part is that is the profit attributable to. And remember, this is the component, this is the part of your consolidated P&L. This is the part of your consolidated P&L. So you have to account for. And remember, two items will be included. Number one, the NCI and the group. And the total profit is, let me share and let me link the cell. Yes, it's 52375. I have linked the cell from the previous working or the previous format. And now what we are going to do, we are going to calculate the share of NCI. That's quite simple. I always ask my students that you always calculate the contribution of NCI and let the group be the balancing figure. Let the group be the balancing figure. Yes. So what we'll do, we'll calculate and we'll incorporate. First, we'll take the profit of a subsidiary company. And I guess the profit of a subsidiary company that is already given in the question, profit for the year, by the way, not TCI. It's profit for the year is 20,200. It's 20,200. First of all, 20,200, and we'll multiply it by 9 divided by 12. Why? Because it's a full year profit and the post acquisition profit will only be considered. Now there is a problem that this profit is not adjusted. Yes. Why? Because the amortizations you have calculated was not incorporated over here. So obviously we need to incorporate that amortization. We need to incorporate that amortization, right? So the value of amortization, can anyone please let me know that what was the value of amortization? The value of amortization was either I have to calculate it again or what. Uh, have we calculated the value of amortization? Yes, 375, right? It's 375. The value of amortization is 375. It's 375. The value of amortization is 375. We can also link the cell over here. Its cell number is N12. N12. Okay. N12. NCI. Okay, now NCI, the profit for subsidiary company. Can you please let me know the profit for the subsidiary company? What was the profit for the subsidiary company? 20,200. It's 20,200 multiply by 9 divided by 12 bracket close, and then we are going to minus N12. One more thing, one more adjustment that we need to account for over here. Can you please let me know what is the adjustment? Yes, excellent, Emma. There will be an adjustment for the URP as well. There will be an adjustment for the, because the goods were sold by subsidiary to parent. Yes, remember, just note it down. If the goods are sold by subsidiary to parents, so yes, the unrealized profit will be adjusted in an NCI. But if the goods are sold by parent to subsidiary, then the adjustment will be in the group profit. It will not be adjusted in NCI. So obviously, we are going to adjust the profit. That is the unrealized profit. And so far, we have also calculated the unrealized profit. So let's move on towards that unrealized profit area. That is 750. So we are going to deduct that 750 as well. And the NCI part is, NCI is 14025. Yes, we need to calculate the 20% as well. That is the main bracket, and we are going to calculate multiply by 20 divided by a percentage. Okay, great. So that is the NCI, and obviously the group figure would be the balancing value. That is 52375 minus 2805. So 49570. This is going to be the balancing figure. That is going to be the balancing figure. In that particular formula, what I've done in while calculating the NCI, first of all, I took the profit of a subsidiary company for the whole year, prorated on 9 months, and then I deducted the fair value depreciation. Then I deducted the unrealized profit, and after this, a big bracket and the overall, the percentage on the overall calculation. Remember, if you will apply the percentage on N10, so it will calculate the 20% of that URP. So you will be applying the whole bracket, that is the entire working, and then you will apply the 20%. So this will calculate the 20% of the entire working. Are you clear on this one? group for the group and for the group contribution, what we have done, the total, that is the profit was 452375, and out of which the contribution of NCI is 2805. So what I did, I just deducted 2805 from the total profit, that is a consolidated profit. So I just got the group balancing figure, that is the group profit. It is basically a group profit, and which we have calculated by using the balancing figure. But yes, if you want to calculate the group profit by a calculation, yes, you can do it. There is a possibility. For that, you need to take the profit of a parent company plus post acquisition profit of a subsidiary company at 80%, or that is the 9 months profit at 80%, and then you have to deduct the depreciation and URP. So this is going to be very complicated. So that's why I just recommend to my students that you just calculate the profit of NCI. The balancing figure would be of group profit. Yes, you can write down the owner equity as well. You can also write it down as an owner equity. Okay. TCI, that is a total comprehensive attributable to. Remember, whenever there's an OCI, so you need to do the attribution for the TCI as well. TCI attributable to. Again, this will be attributed among the group as well as the NCI. And again, we are going to take the total TCI, that is a total comprehensive income, which is 67375, and then we are going to attribute in NCI. And once we are attributing to NCI, the first of all that we need to include is the net profit. Yes, profit which we have attributed to NCI. Remember, in the total comprehensive income, there are two parts. That is profit for the year. The second one is the OCI. The collaboration of these two items will become the TCI, that will create the total comprehensive income. So in which we have NCI, we have included the profit, that is 2805, plus now the OCI of a subsidiary company at 20%. Remember, NCI means the part of the company, the part of the subsidiary that is not owned by you. So it means we are going to take OCI, that is the other comprehensive income, and the other comprehensive income of subsidiary. Can anyone please let me know the other comprehensive income of a subsidiary? The gain on revaluation. Yes, Hannan, you will get the recording of it, don't worry. Can anyone please let me know the other comprehensive income of a subsidiary company? Other comprehensive income, that is the gain on revaluation of a subsidiary company. What was the value of other comprehensive income of a subsidiary company? That was 5,000. Yes, I do remember. The 5,000, that is 5,000, but obviously this will be taken at 20% because NCI is there. So 20%. So the parents, sorry. So first of all, we have taken the profit, and then the OCI, the gain on revaluation of a subsidiary company at 20%, because this is NCI at what we are calculating. And then we're going to close the bracket. So this is going to be the NCI, and group contribution could be calculated by the difference of both, and this will be known as what? The group attribution, that is 63570. And if you want to calculate the group contribution by your own, yes, you can. First of all, you will take the revaluation surplus of a parent company, then you will take the revaluation surplus of a subsidiary company at 80%. Are we clear on this one? Yes, everyone. So this was the complete question that we have solved, and it was not an outdated question. It is just a recent past paper question, and none of you, I can bet on this one. I can guarantee you that none of you can state that we do not know, we can't calculate, we can't solve this question from the scratch. This is not possible. But yes, there could be a possibility. There could be a possibility that you might not be able to solve one or two adjustments. Doesn't matter. It will not let you to fail this exam. Obviously, this is not possible that you will fail your exam by not solving only one or two adjustment. Yes, I'm sharing my contact number. You can definitely reach me out, and I can provide you the summary of a consolidated financial statements, the maximum adjustments that the examiner might help you out. Evan, this is not the question that I have drafted. This is something, the simulated question. This is the question that has been delivered by an ACCA. So obviously, more or less, the examiner benchmark would be up to the mark, and you will definitely be facing a question in which there might be certain one or two adjustments. I told you, I keep on repeating again and again. There might be one or two adjustments that you might not be able to attempt, but doesn't matter. It will not let you to fail this exam. Let me be very clear with you. The one or two adjustment, you will not be bothering it. This shouldn't bother you, that if one or two adjustments you will not be able to solve it, let it be. You just give your best to that particular adjustment. Inshallah, you're going to ace this exams in the first attempt. Okay, I'm sharing my contact number at the end of the session, and there is a lot of content that is available to me, that how to attempt one question that is being asked by a student, that how to attempt the ratio analysis question, what should be the strategy. Obviously, I do have a very limited time period right now. I cannot move on towards that particular area, but if there's any confusion, you can just reach me out on that particular contact number. This number is available on WhatsApp. You can definitely text me, just drop me a message, and I'm gonna to help you out, support you out for your exams preparation as well. No worries. Yes, Amar, you can, but let me answer the question. So if the question as goods in transit, should we deal with that? Yes, if there could be a question for the goods in transit. So if there is a question for the goods in transit, so majority of the area that will be impacting, it will be impact on the balance sheet side. Because since you will make the adjustment, so this will be impacting the account receivables and the accounts payable, that is the cash in transit. And then if there is a goods in transit, so this will be majorly impacting the balance sheet side. Yes, exactly. But Ahmed, try to solve the question for MCQ's purposes as well, because at times it happens that since you are habitual of solving a big and the large and the huge questions, so at times you will not be able to solve an easy question. So please, my recommendation is that please solve 15 to 20 or 30 MCQs questions for the consolidation, so that you will be pretty I would say that confident on those areas as well. Lastly, I just need your feedback on this particular session. Was this session was useful for you guys or not? You can obviously drop me a message on my WhatsApp, or you can also drop a feedback over here as well. Yes, Amar, yes, you can please open your mic and you can ask a question.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
Walaikum salam, Amar.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि अगर कंसोलिडेशन में हमें एक आधी एडजस्टमेंट जो आपने कहा कि वो मुश्किल होगी, तो अगर हमें वो ना एडजस्टमेंट आए और वो चीज़ जो है गुडविल वगैरह में जा रही हो, तो उससे हमारी गुडविल की कैलकुलेशन रॉन्ग होगी, उसका आंसर रॉन्ग आएगा, तो वो गुडविल में भी जाके उसके नंबर कटेंगे या सिर्फ वो 2-3 नंबर की एडजस्टमेंट होगी वही कम होगी?
No, but this will not be the case. If, for example, let me give an example. That, for example, you calculated the depreciation. You calculated the depreciation, for example, for the net assets. For the net assets, and since the depreciation was calculated incorrectly, for instance, so it means now the exam calculation, it will not deduct the marks for the consolidated financial position. It will not deduct the marks for the group retained earning. So the marks that will be deducted for the net assets working only, that's it. It's not a negative marking, and your negative marks will not be carried forward. Emma, are you getting a point? So you should not worry about it. Since if you have calculated in only a one incorrect item, so only the marks that will be deducted for that particular specific working only. Are you getting it? Yes, anyone else would like to ask something? Any questions so far? Hassan, the format which I have shared with you, it's a complete format. It's a complete format. Yes, I can share this file with you. You can just drop me a message. I can share the file with you. Question is available on your my ACC practice platform, so there is no need for the question, I guess. But still, if you want, I can share it with you. But the question is easily available on your my ACC account. That is the ACC practice platform, because the past paper questions. So definitely, it's easily available over here. Okay. Any other question that anyone would like to ask? Yes, RAs.
सर मैंने पूछना था कि अगर पेरेंट टू सब्सिडरी अगर सेल हो रही है या सब्सिडरी टू पेरेंट सेल हो रही है तो इस सूरत में यूआरपी का क्या ट्रीटमेंट होगा और वो कंसोलिडेटेड रिटेन अर्निंग्स में और इसमें किस किस तरह जाएगा, किस किस परसेंटेज के साथ जाएगा और एनसीआई में?
If the goods are sold by the so far in this particular question we have demonstrated that if the goods are sold by the subsidiary to parent, so what will be the accounting treatment? But yes, if the goods are sold by parent to subsidiary, so now
Yes.
the unrealized profit will be deducted from the cost of sales. It means it will be added to the cost of sales, but yes, no adjustment will be made in the NCI. We are not going to recognize, we are not going to adjust the unrealized profit in NCI. It will automatically be adjusted in the group profit. So far, what we are doing, we are calculating the NCI. So the balancing figure would be the group profit. So it will automatically be adjusted in the group accounts or the group profit. So you're not supposed to do any adjustment for the unrealized profit if the goods are sold by parent to subsidiary. Yes, David, it's obviously a very important question. You can please drop me a message because I'm having a shortage of time. You can just drop me a message on my WhatsApp so I can definitely guide you regarding the time management, that how you can manage your time. But the simple answer for everyone is that the practice, the ultimate. Remember, for taxation paper, for financial reporting paper, for specifically for these two, and for audit and assurance as well. Uh, Practice, practice, practice. That is the punchline. The more you will practice, the more your timings will improve. So far, still there are a few days left before your exams. So yes, if you will practice more and more, day in and day out, obviously, by the time you will be able to ace your exams and you will be able to complete your exams on time. We'll discuss it, Amar, later on, inshallah. Okay, thank you so much for joining this session, and I hope and I wish that this was a useful session for all of you. And I would appreciate your feedback on my WhatsApp. So if you can drop a very short message for this one, so that is going to be a motivating factor for me and will definitely encourage me for upcoming webinars and for upcoming sessions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this session. I wish and I pray that may you all get a very tremendous success in this particular paper. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.